Big Sky Champs bring the shine on the field. Now bring it home. L&M Fine Jewelry has the sparkle you need to celebrate your MVP. In Missoula on American Way and in Kalispell on Main Street. Shine on. L&M Fine Jewelry is the official jeweler of AKEM'S Analysis, as well as the Samuel AKEM YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go check them out when you're trying to get that ring for that special person. Michael and Landy are the owners of L&M Fine Jewelry. They do a phenomenal job. They have 2 locations, like I mentioned, one in Missoula on American Way, and the other is in Kalispell on Main Street. Go check them out. L&M Fine Jewelry, your diamond destination. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel AKEM here. I'm back. I'm with KEATON GILLOGLY. Did I say that correctly?
Nailed it. Perfect. Right
okay. The voice of the Bobcats. He calls all the Bobcat games except for the ESPN ones, obviously. The ESPN.
No,
ones,
I get to do those too because I'm
okay.
radio, so I get all playoffs, every game. I haven't missed a game now in 4 years, so yeah,
okay.
I get all the good stuff.
Well, I'm honored to have you on, man. I appreciate you for giving me your time. I know you're a busy guy. First things first, introduce yourself. Who are you? How'd you get to Montana? And yeah.
Born and raised in Chicago, Cubs fan, grew up about 3 miles from Wrigley Field, so getting excited for some MLB playoffs. Spent a bulk of my time, actually splitting my time between East Lansing, Michigan. I spent a decade, 10 full years at Michigan State covering women's basketball over there, which was awesome. And then while I was doing that, I was also working in minor league baseball. So I spent 13 years doing professional baseball, including 5 years in the Mariners umbrella. So actually right now, as we speak, I was just organizing another interview with MILB.com because I covered Cal Raleigh in 2019 and we had a big, he had a monster stretch. He came up with this like Beef Boys anthem, this ballad, this parody song that he gave me. And so he had me singing it for his home runs. And then he went on and hit like 9 home runs and 40 at-bats before he got called up. So a lot of those guys up with the Mariners right now, I got to cover back in like 18, 19, 20. So yeah, spent a lot of time there. And then, I got a call in summer of 2022 that this job was opened up. I knew some people who had worked in Montana in the minor league circuit up in Helena, Great Falls, Billings. I know somebody else who had covered Montana State women's basketball before Riley had been here. And they gave me a call and I kind of jumped on it because this was a primo opportunity and got here in the fall of 2022. And that was the first time after I'd graduated in 2011 that I had ever signed a 12-month lease in my career. Feeling a little at home, which feels great. And year 4 now. And just definitely feel very, very settled, which is really great.
How does Montana compare to where you've been before, like other places you've been?
Yeah, I mean, Modesto, I worked for the Modesto Nuts for 9 years, among other minor league stops. So I've been to every small town that you can imagine in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. The time I spent in California was all of the very rural, deserty kind of California, all up and down the Central Valley. So Modesto, Stockton, Visalia, Bakersfield, Lancaster, like all of that.
Yep.
So it was very, very. Yeah, dude. So it was very, very different in those spots. And I'm a big city kid. Like I grew up in Chicago. I took the CTA to high school every day. Like I didn't get my license until I was 19. All my family's still in the city. So yeah, it's different. But what I love about Montana and Bozeman is a couple things. First, I'm a big outdoorsy guy. So love to backpack, love to hike, did a bunch of that this summer. And then the other thing is just like, one thing I don't like about some of the other small towns I've lived in or traveled to is like they're trying to be something they're not. That area around Chicago, oh yeah, I'm from Chicago. Oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Naperville. Like that's a whole thing, and it's like, all right, bro, that's like just an hour away. So one thing I like about Bozeman and Montana and even Missoula and a lot of these places around Montana is they are what they are, like they're not trying to be something else. Like they're not posers. They're just, we are who we are. You can come and be here and we'll give you whatever you want to be. But yeah, I like that Montana is what it wants to be. And it's not trying to pretend or front or pretend to like be something else.
See, that's how I know you're an outsider. Cause you're saying you can come. Montanans don't want anybody to come here.
Well, yeah, you can come if you're a part of the football team and you want to go like add to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you can come if you can catch a football and run a 4.5.
Anybody else, stay the heck away. So we're talking Bobcats. You cover that. You call all the games for the Bobcats. They're coming off a national championship berth, and then obviously Tommy Mellott, Mikado Riley, Brody Grebe, all the losses they had. What have you seen from this Bobcat team in 2025?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of guys grow up quickly. I've seen the coaching staff have faith in their players and their recruiting ability. Talking to Coach Vegan, especially in the spring, in this area, you got one of two choices, right? You can recruit and retain, which is really, really, really hard to do right now, or you got to go to
Yes.
the transfer portal. And when they took the look at their roster after all of those losses and 23, 24 seniors, whatever the number was, they had to take a look and it's okay. Where are these guys that played in a lot of those blowouts at the end of the game? Are they ready to take that jump? Like, are they ready to be good enough to be starters? And that takes some confidence as a coach. It takes confidence as a coach that says we recruited the right guys that were good enough, we have developed them well enough, and we are ready to put them in a spot where they absolutely have to perform because the standard is the standard. And if it's not, it's not. So I think it's been really cool. Obviously, they've pieced in a few things, but I just one of the things that's been so cool following this over the last now 4 years, 3-4 years, is there has been a lot of development. When I go to spring ball, when I go to fall camp, when we have those blowout games and you're seeing the second and third string guys, like I honestly, I love it. Like I love when you get to see those second and third string guys come in, and so many of them are Montana kids. You get to see them build up, and now those guys are starters. So it's been really cool to see the way this thing has developed and the confidence they've put in these second and third string guys from a year ago, who are now the first string guys and playing their tails off. So the development piece has been really, really fascinating to watch.
Nice. So there's a lot of new faces on this team. Obviously, a lot of young guys, you just talked about it, who have had to get into bigger roles this year. Who is somebody who maybe isn't getting enough attention? Because, I feel like I've talked about Cole Taylor, some of the big names, Bryce Grebe, those guys. Who is somebody who you think may not be getting that type of attention, but really has had a good start to the season?
Yeah, Cole Taylor is definitely the obvious one since he's a Great Falls kid. Thinking about the defense first, like Taden Gray has been really impressive at the nickel position. He is incredibly athletic. He had limited playing time in high school for some stuff that was not in his control. It wasn't like he did anything wrong or anything, but just didn't have a ton of playing time in high school for some stuff. And now he is really coming on, because that nickel position in this Bobcat defense, they ask a lot. You're basically a safety and a linebacker at the same time. So he's been doing really, really heavy lifting. And he's one of those guys that, last year he was playing well. He was playing behind a senior, Miles Jackson, and he kind of slowly continued to come on, had a huge play, broke up that pass at the goal line against South Dakota in the semifinals while they were kind of driving. And now after we saw him make some of those like big plays, like those flashy plays last year, this year he has been so steady. I mean, the consistency he's playing with at that position, like we haven't called his name a ton, but he's just been so steady, and that's just such a linchpin for what this whole thing is on the defensive side. So I think that part has been really, really impressive. And then just watching this O-line develop, I mean, there's some pieces like JT Reed has really grabbed that center position. Getting Burke Mastel back is huge. And then watching those other young kids at the tackles, Cedric Jefferson out of Southern California and Braden Zimmer out of Red Lodge. They're young, they're developing, and the ceiling is super, super high. So it's fun watching that. And like a kid like Braden Zimmer is going against a future first round pick at the defensive end position for his first career game, not start. I'm talking game ever at Oregon, and he performed. It wasn't perfect, but he performed. So that those are some of the guys that are on my mind.
Man, that Oregon game is a tall task, but I wanted to touch on the point about Taden Gray. Sometimes I feel like that can get lost. When you play young players, it's you want the consistency, because when you play a young player, you're gonna see the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs. The consistency is great. So I'm sure having players who were able to see the field last year and then kind of level out things this year is probably a huge thing. On the Oregon points, we played Oregon in 2019, and I know exactly what you're talking about. That squad had Kayvon Thibodeau, Justin Herbert, Javon Holland. Like, they just had dudes all over the place. So I get it. I was I think a junior at the time, and I got rerouted by Kayvon Thibodeau, and I was like, that kid's 17, 18 years old. This is not natural.
Right. Well, and I'd ask you too, since you're the former athlete, and this kind of came up this week from Coach Vegan. Is like he talked about how there were some things that really got exposed for the Bobcat defense that maybe would not have gotten exposed if they had played a bye game or a lesser opponent. So like how much for you could you pull out of that when it's like, okay, that's what the FBS standard is? Because it does seem like that maybe was something that really helped solidify this Bobcat defense. But I don't know. I'd be curious to actually know what your perspective on that.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because 2019, statistically, I was on track to have my best season, and I actually got hurt late in the season. Didn't even get to play in Cat Grizz that year. But I did recognize a lot of things in that game, like those corners, and I don't know what it is about the Pac-12 refs, but like they let a lot go. They let a lot go. They let a lot go, and they were grabby and physical, and like honestly, not overly physical to where a lot of them warranted a penalty, but they just are so physical. It seemed like they understood the rules of the college game so well, that because like in the NFL, there's a 5-yard rule, but in college, a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people know, you can be physical until the ball is in the air. So essentially, if the quarterback never throws you the ball, the DB can kind of beat you up a little bit. Now, obviously, there's differences in how refs call it and things like that, but I felt like that game showed me a lot, and I felt like I was able to be better from that game throughout that season, because I was like, oh man, those. I mean, Deommodore Lenoir just got paid a bunch of money last year, and he was on that Oregon squad. And then they had another guy who ended up playing a few years in the league too. So it's just like it's either sink or swim, you know.
Right, yeah.
And as you saw when the Bobcats played them, you get in a situation where you're gonna have to throw it a bunch, because you're gonna get down, you're gonna be forced to throw the ball. So me as a receiver, I'm getting a ton of targets, and you get to test your skills a ton.
Yeah, it does feel like those types of games, you know, and it's a tough question, especially for the Montana schools, is like, you know, obviously when you're talking the economics of it, like, you know, you're making money for these home games. You got to be paid a certain amount to go out to these games. There is some value, but also we're going to start losing some of these games as, you know, like the SEC goes to the 9-game schedule, and, you know, you got to play a P4, at least one of those others. So, yeah, it's just interesting, but I wasn't sure how this thing was going to come out and how it was going to impact the team, because we knew what Oregon was going to be, and everybody associated with Montana State after that game was like, that is one of the best teams in the country. Like, I know they were ranked number 7 and they had to replace all those stuff. We all saw it, and that loss is going to look better and better as the year goes on. But it is interesting how that flashlight really shines a light on where you can fix. And from the coaching perspective, you know, it's so much easier to coach off a loss than it is a win, because the boys want to listen.
100%. So I feel like the Cats got off to a little shaky start, and I think Coach Vegan and the boys and Bozeman would agree to that. The game that people think about in particular is Mercyhurst. They kind of fooled around against Mercyhurst, won 17-0. Now, I'm of the belief that Mercyhurst isn't as bad as a lot of people want to give them credit for. But also, I hold Montana State in a high regard, and that's NEC versus the Big Sky. Big Sky champion, defending Big Sky champion, went to the national championship. That game should look a certain way. Against Eastern Washington, the Bobcats kind of beat up on them. Did you feel like Vegan and the Montana State football team made a concerted effort to kind of put their foot down on the Eagles last week?
I mean, I think they would tell you that they went out and just met their standard in that game. Right. It wasn't so much 100%. About Eastern or trying to prove something wrong. And, you know, that Mercyhurst game, it's so funny because, like, Mercyhurst right now around here and everywhere else, like, you hear this Mercyhurst thing and it's like such a punchline, you know, like you know, and I don't know that that's necessarily fair to Mercyhurst. Like, last year they came up, they saved us, you know, because that was Stephen F. Austin who had canceled the game, and that's why they came up here last year. And this game was already scheduled, you know, and they brought in a lot of better players. You know, I heard their head coach get quoted as saying, like, yeah, all of a sudden we're D1 and everybody wants to come here, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, they have a very experienced quarterback who knows how to play.
Their arena's good.
Yes, and their goal was to control the football. That's what they did at Sac State. You know, that's what they did all throughout at Youngstown State as well. And the other thing that got lost in the shuffle here, too, for Montana State was they played a lot of depth in this game from the start. This was the first game Burke Mastel came back in, and he slotted in that left guard position. They, by design, rolled out 3 different offensive line combinations. Like, that was a goal. Okay, so they did kind of treat this in some ways like a preseason game, like an NFL team would do in a preseason game, where they rotated a lot of that stuff. The true freshman linebacker Xavier Aarons got in there like the second or third drive. You know, they rolled Jared White, Colson Kuhn out there within like the second touch offensively.
Yeah, Kuhn played a ton.
Right, and the other thing too was, you know, what did we see Mercyhurst do, right? They converted a few third downs, a couple of fourth downs. We knew they were going to go for it on fourth down. So, you know, they had some longer drives, but the Cats still didn't give up a score. what happened in this thing? They did not pressure. Montana State played a very vanilla base defense this whole game, right? And what's that going to allow you to do when you've got 80, 90 yards of field to go? Well, you're going to be able to, right.
Dunk.
That's exactly what they did. They got some 6'2", 6'3" wide receivers. And what happened once they finally got down into the red zone? Bobcats stood up and they stiffened up and they didn't let those guys in. So I think there was some scheme stuff. I think they were playing some depth. And it was one of those games where Mercyhurst was trying to muck it up. They did. And I think at the end of the day, it's a good thing for Montana State to go through that game. And then the question is this a harbinger of things to come? Or was this just one offshoot? And now you look at Eastern Washington, and one of the things we talked on our post game about was like, that was an eye test game. Montana State went out and they passed the eye test against an improved Eastern Washington team. So I think after the Eastern game, that was an aberration, and no new concerns came up for me.
For sure. So Justin Lamson, the new starting quarterback, obviously it's similar to, like, I don't want to call Tommy Malott Tom Brady or Bill Belichick or Nick Saban, but it's like when somebody so great is in a position, it's like Justin Lamson is now Kalen DeBoer. It's like, how do I replace that guy? What have you seen from Justin Lamson, and what does he look like to you this season?
Yeah, man, he's been awesome. He's been really, really great. And, I think Coach Vegan is really cherishing this opportunity to coach Lamson, because he recruited him pretty hard when he was at Wyoming as the offensive coordinator over there. And it didn't work out. And Lamson has gone through the P4 wilderness, injuries and backups and all these different things, from, Syracuse to Stanford, back across the country, goes to Bowling Green, and then to coaching change there, and that really is what lined it up. So one thing for Lamson is he came in after Malott left, right? Like, he wasn't here watching Malott. He just gets to walk in fresh, totally clean, which I think is good. And he worked his tail off to not take for granted this thing. That was a true quarterback competition during fall camp. That was a three-way quarterback competition, and he won. And he took his time and just no pretenses. He worked as hard as anybody else did. And now he's here, and he proved something right away in that Oregon game, right? There was that 3rd and 1 or whatever it was, and he went right at the DB and ran that man over, and then got up and started barking, and they were going right after each other. And the amount of O-line and other guys that came up to me were like, dude, that was it. Like, now we know we got a dog as a cat.
Yeah.
Like, they were ready to go. And like that touchdown he had against San Diego, where he dives in, a little barrel roll to get in or whatever it was, like that. That is a play, like that is a ball play right there. So he has proved his toughness. He's a smart guy, and right now he's really figuring out a lot of the situational stuff. And he's actually had a lot of opportunities at the end of first half, end of game type situation, 2-minute, 4-minute offense things. Some of that touch, some of that feel as like the game manager is the stuff that's really coming along now, which is great, right? Like, that's the kind of stuff for a coach like Coach Vegan, who has coached these great quarterbacks in his career. That's the kind of thing he can really coach and get into. Yeah. So everybody's behind him. He's got full faith, which I imagine as a player is amazing, right? He's not looking over his shoulder right now. Everybody knows he is QB1. So big arm. He's not super fast, but he can run. He can run somebody over. Yeah. He's making smart decisions. He hasn't been perfect, but he's had an opportunity to learn, and I think he's getting better, and it does set up what's going to be a freaking awesome quarterback battle in November between the two guys. So it's cool to see a couple of QB1s here in the state right now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because we brought in Dalton Snead in 2018, and as the quarterback, because I heard Lamson talk earlier. I think it was either in the spring or in the fall, but he was talking in an interview, and he said, he wanted to do what he's been trying to do his hardest to earn the respect of the team, and not trying to walk in and act like he's that guy. I remember when we brought Dalton Snead in 2018. There was an instance in the locker room or in the weights where some of the older vets who had already been there were trying to call up the huddle, and they felt as though Dalton Snead was kind of trying to tell everybody to come up. And he wasn't. It was just kind of a miscommunication. But it's like the quarterback is in a weird position, because it's like he's going to be seen as a leader if he ends up being the starter. But in the position that Snead was in right there, it's like, you're not that guy yet. But just like you said, when he goes out and proves it on the field on Saturday, then it's like, okay, that's our guy. You know it when you see it. but it's like early on, you gotta earn it first.
Yeah, and he earned it too by he was here during spring ball but couldn't practice because he was still finishing some classes to finish his degree, and he earned it by the work he was doing in those moments, right? He earned it by helping out Taco and Adam Jones at their their camp, the camps they ran this summer, and he was as involved when you're doing those little things for your teammates and you're figuring out how I can be a good teammate to you, how can I serve, like head coach Matt Logie of the basketball team, he talks about how can I be a servant to my players? How can you as a teammate serve your teammates? That was something that Lamson did very, very early on, and just no pretenses, man. I mean, that's just what you got to do, and then eventually, once they see you can ball, then that's all right, we're in.
Okay, I want to talk about the defense quickly, and then I want to talk about the upcoming matchup. Defense, Montana State. Outside of the Oregon game, the Montana State defense is giving up 10 points a game. I am of the belief that this is the best unit in the conference. And I tweeted yesterday, I tweeted the numbers yesterday, but I don't really think it's close right now in terms of defense and who's leveling up to Montana State. What have you seen from that unit so far this season?
Yeah, no, dude, you're totally right. It's kind of one of those underrated stories right now, I feel like, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't really matter. And even in that Oregon game, you saw some flashes of it. Like, they didn't really give up a big play in that game. You know, they gave up a couple of plays, but it wasn't like, oh, here's a 75-yard run or like, whatever, and like, okay, sure, Carson Williams at 5'8" got stiff-armed by, Sadiq. Like, that's going to happen. Yeah. Whatever.
That guy's a freak.
Yeah, dude, he's stiff-arming Penn State players. Like, it's fine. It's fine. So, yeah, and like, even like, they posted a couple of those hurdles and that's a cool picture, but there was a Bobcat right there that hit both of those guys in the air when they were doing their flashy hurdles, and there was no extra yardage. You know what I'm saying? So they were already kind of rallying to the ball in that regard. But this whole thing starts up front, and it's just it's so obvious. Like that, they're starting 4 seniors on this D line right now. Paul Brott is an absolute beast. Like, you got Montana built kids on that defensive line right now, and it's so cool to watch. And then you move into that linebacker spot, and I think coming into the year, rightfully so, that linebacker room was a big question mark. You weren't sure. You knew Bryce and Neal were going to be the guys. Then Neal gets hurt at Oregon. And a credit to a Bobcat Hall of Famer, Jody Owens, who's coaching linebackers now. He has built this thing up. Cole Taylor is obviously a force. He's been talked about a ton, rightfully so. Xavier Aarons is a true freshman that's coming along. He's missed a few tackles here and there, but for the most part, he's starting to be in the right place. And he's the guy they're very happy with. He's not going to redshirt, so he's going to be playing all year. And then the cornerbacks are so much fun to watch, dude. Like, even in the fall, like, I was like getting so excited. You got 3 redshirt freshmen, all from the state of Texas, and then you got the junior Takari Carr, number 0 out of LA, and he's their elder statesman. They're rotating all 4 of them in. They're all just super, super tight. They're great athletes. They were all track stars. And then, you get the injury to Taki Louis-Lakepa at the safety. So now you had to move Bryant Meredith back out there to that safety position when he was playing some of that nickel spot. And he's been playing all right. J.J. Dolan out of Missoula has been rotating in with him, playing well. And then the real thing that brings this whole thing together outside of the D-line is Caden Dollar. That man is an absolute force. He looks huge. He is huge, dude. He is so big. He is so strong. He is so fast, so smart. He has such a gratitude for playing after the injuries he suffered the last 2 years. So, I think the D-line as a unit is really what is the backbone of this thing. And we saw it. We saw that at South Dakota State. That D-line made plays in that game when they absolutely needed to. And then Caden Dollar, man, he's the green dot. He's the communicator. He is the quarterback of that defense, and he's
huge for a safety.
Yeah, and it's hard to do.
Safety.
It's hard to do, man. Caden Dollar is one of the MVPs of this defense right now.
For sure. So with that being said, the defense giving up 10 points a game against FCS competition. Obviously, you take that Oregon game out of there. But NAU got the 3rd best scoring offense in the Big Sky Conference, averaging 34.2 points a game. How can the MSU defense slow them down? Ty Pennington, he leads the conference in passing yards right now. He's playing good ball. What do you think about that this upcoming matchup?
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. So, the O-line for Northern Arizona, they've had to kind of move and shuffle around a little bit. They had an injury at the center position. I was just listening to Coach Wright's press conference. Sounds like it's questionable for their starting center to come back this week, Terrence Caldwell. So, they've had some shuffling around that O-line. That's going to be a difficult thing going up against this Bobcat front 4. Ty Pennington, obviously, is awesome. He's a baller. Like, this kid is just a total player. Tough as nails. he's everything you want in a quarterback for sure, So that's going to be a test, like we've taught. I just sat here and sung all these praises of these defensive backs and this defense, through the air. You're going to have to prove it right now. And they got guys, right?
BOBCATS.
Yes, BOBCATS is legit. Jason Rain, 6'4", the transfer from Stanford, like he's a body, and he just caught his first career touchdown in the last week or two. Joey Stout, kind of really that small water bug in that slot position. Isaiah Eastman. I mean, we're talking like 3-4 different guys. Jeter Purdy at the tight end position can catch the football as well. I think one of the questions they've had is really getting that consistent run game going. It does seem it's a little more that scheme on the offensive line than it is the running backs themselves. Like Seth Cromwell is their leader. He's a bowling ball dude, like 5'10", 215. Like he's gonna get you, and they're deep there, right? Karan Gossett got the hot hand last week against Portland State, got a few extra runs. Darvon Hubbard is another guy who, he was at Texas A&M, at Temple, and now second year here at NAU. So they got 3 legit running backs. If they can get that run game going, that's going to open things up, because that hasn't been super consistent for them. And I imagine that's probably coming a little bit from just the shuffling of the offensive line due to injuries and just trying to figure it out, because it's hard. That old line group is hard when you got to keep it together like that.
So, what do you think is the biggest concern for this game for the Bobcats? Like, is it the offense? Is it the run game, getting the run game going? Like, what do you think is the biggest thing that the Bobcats are focused on coming into this game against NAU?
Honestly, dude, it might be special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be special teams, right? Miles Sandstead missed 2 PATs. I got a field goal blocked last week. Now he did bounce back and hit a couple of PATs after the 2 misses. It did seem like it was the blocked field goal that got in his head a little bit with those 2 missed PATs, because they came like right after that. So that's going to be a bit of a question mark, and I think rightfully so. You got a true freshman long snapper, a true freshman punter. Yeah, Colby Froker scored a touchdown last week. That's super cool, but you still got to connect on the football with your foot, man. So, no, I think you really, we saw this happen in 2023, right? We saw this in the Idaho loss on the road where they missed a late field goal. Obviously the blocked PAT that ended the season in the playoffs.
Man.
There were red flags leading up to that, and we're starting to see some of those right now. The flip side of that is there's also a lot of great coverage. There's a lot of great youth playing big-time plays. I mean, the touchdown they scored against South Dakota State on that punt that just he lost, and there was pressure and turns into a touchdown for a freshman, Seth Brock. Like, there are positives there, but that stuff really, really needs to clean up. And I think if they execute at the level on offense and defense, you're feeling pretty good. But that special team stuff, man, it's a little nerve-wracking right now.
Yeah, and it's so funny you say that, because I've been hesitant this season to kind of mention 2023, but like since that happened and since that ended the season for the Bobcats, that is like all I can think of whenever I see them get like a blocked kick or like a bad punt or anything. I'm just like, oh gosh, are they reverting back to 2023? Because that was a good team that I felt like should have been coming to Missoula, and unfortunately they dropped that game right there. So.
Right, and Tommy got hurt. Tommy got hurt in that fourth quarter. Like, it was back and forth, and then Tommy gets hurt. He would not have been able to play that next week. Like, that was just not going to happen. So, yeah, but, we're seeing the red flags right now. So, we'll see. Lock it in. They had the 2 blocked punts earlier in the year as well. So, they just keep getting better in that regard. But, yeah, and it was one of those things, like you said, you could see it building over the course of the year. So now the question is, are you getting better or are you getting worse? Because there's only 2 options in this world. So we'll see if they're getting better. And I know Colby Froker's excited to punt at 7,000 feet in this dome. He's going to be scraping that ceiling, dude. He's got some juice there.
Well, the Bobcats are taking on NAU in a highly ranked matchup. Probably be the game of the week in the Big Sky Conference. I cannot wait. You have anything else you wanted to say about this matchup, about this team?
Nah, man, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to see this Brian Wright-led team. He was OC here 2 years, won a Big Sky title with my color analyst, Leo Davis. He was an offensive lineman on that team. And I got a lot of respect for him. I haven't interacted with him, but everybody who has interacted with him around here, they've got a ton of respect for him. So I think the league is better when NAU is doing better, especially with the market they're in being so close to Phoenix. It's a good thing when NAU is doing better. And yeah, man, they've always had a lot of talent, a lot of places to recruit. So this is going to be premier. This is it. I mean, you want to win a Big Sky title, you've got to go on the road and win in these tough environments. So rubber meets the road. We're going to really find out. Everybody can say question mark this, question mark that. But at the end of the day, if you go out and get a win in Flagstaff against this team, this quarterback, this coaching staff, then all right, then we are getting set up for that collision at the end of November. Because I have
that altitude too.
Yeah, dude. So Yeah, and it does feel like right now Montana State and Montana are very clearly the two best teams in the Big Sky. So Montana State goes and proves what they need to prove in this game. Then yeah, we're ready to rock. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. But I was just on with one of my former teammates, Keenan. We were recapping the Idaho game, and he was talking about, November. And I'm like, hey, we need to pump the brakes because, like, Cal Poly can beat anybody. There's
Cal Poly's
teams out here.
improved.
They're improved.
Colorado's improved.
Northern Colorado's improved.
Absolutely.
So it's like, yes, November is there. And, like, the dream scenario is for both teams to be firing on all cylinders going into that game, and we get basically a Big Sky championship game, which is how it should be in the Big Sky
with home field advantage on the line, the whole thing. Yeah. Well,
yes.
and you're the former player, right? So you're thinking like, no, guys, we can't look ahead. As the guy who's been steeped in media, we're allowed to look ahead. This is how you get excited. This is how you bring it up.
That's how you build up the game.
Yes, let me welcome you into the media world. You're into it now, man, guy. Like, no. This is how you build it up. I'm not going to ask Vegan about this, but we get to talk. This is the purpose of a podcast.
Yeah. You're right. November, man. Bring November right now.
Right. Well, and when we get there, we're going to be like, look, this game felt like we've been on a collision course for that game since the start of the year. Obviously, you still have to execute, but already, right? Like, we're 1 week into the Big Sky season, and we already feel like this is a collision course for that game. And if that's true, then Montana State has to go take care of business for this game in Flagstaff.
On the road, which has been hard. One more thing on that, though.
Yeah.
Since we're on the point.
Hit me.
Montana and Montana State continue to win. Does game day make it out? If you got an undefeated Montana, you got a 10 and what they'd be 10-2 at that, or 11 and they'd be 11-2. No, 9-2. 9-2. They'd be 9-2 at that point. Does game day, and they're probably both top 5 ranked at that. I mean, they're both top 5 ranked right now.
Right. Yeah. No, they'll definitely.
Do they make it out? Do they make it out?
I don't know. Maybe it depends. It really comes down to what else is going on that week around the country, right? I don't know what I'd have to look at what the schedule is for that week, because if there's a de facto Big Ten,
the game,
you know what I mean. So that would be more about what's going on elsewhere around the country than it is here. And you know what? If they do, they do. They don't, they don't. Either way, that game's going to get a shout out on game day.
Yeah,
and like.
Yeah, it will.
Let's just remember what do we open this podcast with? Montana, the state of Montana is the state of Montana. You don't need to worry about the national outside stuff. Like you don't need that to
They didn't even do it right in 2022 either. They brought some Yellowstone guy on. You gotta get some Bobcat on there. You gotta get Troy Anderson.
Nick
bring
Faldo.
A Bobcat back and have him do the picker.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
I know. And Kirk Herbstreit doing his best, like, Indiana Jones impression with the hat and all that stuff. Like, that felt very Los Angeles with the vibe, but that's
yes.
You know,
yes. Like,
come
on.
Don't let the outside affect how much you enjoy your own thing. Okay, it's other people's opinions do not matter. It doesn't matter what ESPN thinks. It doesn't matter what somebody from somewhere else thinks. This is all that matters. This is Montana and Montana State, and if they take care of business, we are going to have one of the legendary moments in a legendary rival that's over a century old. So it doesn't matter. Just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, let's enjoy the ride, man. Well, I'm excited to see what Bobcats are able to do this weekend against NAU. Thank you so much for coming on. I definitely want to have you on again. And I'll see you down the road, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, and appreciate all your hard work. So keep up all the content, man. It's cool to watch.